Good morning. Well, they make it sound so easy, but I'm sure be transparent with you. I inherited this school right after when we were coming back from the pandemic. And OC, it was an OC school. So I was going to be a first year principal in with limited knowledge of OC. And I was excited. I was like, you know what, sky's the limit. This is my dream. I've done everything in education, but I've never been given the opportunity to lead my own school. But the blessing was that before I came in here back to Wilson County into education, I had been in several advanced teaching roles. And so I was an elementary school teacher in Pitt County for years. And around right before Race to the Top started, Dr. Beverly Emery recruited about 20 teachers to leave their school and move to the Race to the Top, which is part of Pitt County School. So I was an elementary school that had proven reading teacher that had proven reading scores, and I was uprooted from my little small Fargo community school and went to North of the River in Pitt County to a middle school to teach sixth grade ELA. So that was my first opportunity to work in an advanced teaching role because I was a teacher leader. So what I did was I taught in the mornings and I tried all these innovative things, and then I went in the afternoons and I coached. And so after about 6 months of doing that, I became that school's coach. So I was that school's academic coach. And then after that, June, I began to work with DPI and UNC Systems. So like everything happened for me really fast. And so when I worked for UNC Systems, still had no knowledge of opportunity culture. My challenge was to go in every one of the 118 schools in the state of North Carolina and work with beginning teachers and make sure that beginning teachers did not have a gap, that we close the gap between beginning teachers and pre-service and veteran teachers. So for 5 or 6 years, I traveled across Eastern North Carolina with UNC Systems, and I traveled to like Lenore County, Robeson County, Hope County. I traveled to the places where schools were founded, and I worked with beginning teachers. And I coached them 5 days a week, and I made sure that I was in their PLCs, and they called me at night time. So I was not in opportunity culture, but I was in advanced teaching role all the time. And so after that, our work became so good at UNC Systems. I got the opportunity to work with the writers of national boards and NCPA, which NCPA is a tool that we use for pre-service teachers to see how they are going into the education field, and the national board. So I got to actually create a coaching model between NCPA and the national board teaching standards. After that, I was burned out with traveling and everything, and I was working hard. I was in California like 2 weeks out of the month with Stanford working. And then I would come back to ECU and travel all over North Carolina. And I decided one day I took the like, I love the money, I love the fame, but I'm tired. And I was like, I'm gonna take a big pay cut. And I just started interviewing for teaching positions, assistant principal positions. Some districts picked me, some didn't, but here I am now in Wilson County, and I inherited Lucama Elementary School after working in their curriculum instruction, I think, for about 10 months. I was a math and science coordinator, and I interviewed for a position, and I inherited Lucama Elementary School. The first thing I did was, when I inherited Lucama, I pulled up a school report card. I was like, this is a pretty good school. Like, I mean, I was like, Title I, they're climbing. And then they're climbing, I was like, oh, I'm getting nervous and everything. But anyway, I accepted the challenge. And when I got in here, I realized they were an OC school where the previous principal and the design team had already designed opportunity culture. I began leaning on Erin, I began leaning on Chloe, I began leaning on Ashley, and I will tell you that all the things that I have learned in my advanced teaching roles prior to coming to Wilson County, they confirmed it. They confirmed it. And it was like every time I wanted to come back to Lucama Elementary School and try something, I would go to one of their PDs and it was like, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. The question was, how do I come into a school that's already moving and already thriving and convince them that we need to do something a little bit different, right? And the big thing was data. So, all right. So Prior to the pandemic, Lucama's elementary school, K1 was just your traditional 6 K1 teachers and an interventionist that pulls students. At this point, this is where we are at Lucama. So I'm not even talking about, we're going to talk about, we're going to compare last year and this year in a couple of minutes. At this point in K1, I now have a K1 full release MCL3, and I have a TRT. And so with that, what I did with the TRT was, that was an innovative approach to me, even though OC helped me with that, was we have a lot of veteran teachers that are getting interested in getting ready for retirement, right? And we are right next to Wayne County. So I, as a principal, I was just like, pretty good person. So they don't want to apply for OC, but what can I do? So I pack their classrooms with a subgroup of kids that they normally move, and I give them the TRT stipend, right? They're here, they're smiling, they come every day. All right, go ahead. All right, so you can look at the budget. Robin will tell you, federal funds will tell you, I do not mind spending money on people. I have a problem with programs. I like programs, but I do not mind spending money on people. And every time federal funds found money for me, Robin will tell you, I was already spent. Like, and I do a really good job of recruiting too, like, you know, so I'm interviewing when I don't have, I'm talking to people and interviewing when I don't have a position open, because, you know, it's a revolving door. And so if we keep moving, in second and third grade, we, prior to the pandemic, and even last year, we didn't have OC really operating in second and third grade, but my experience as an advanced teacher leader is I actually set up the PLCs as if we were moving toward OC last year. And as you see this year, we have that in second and third grade. So we have a MCL partial release who is a third grade teacher. She coaches 5 teams of teachers, and she has a reach associate who is actually has the ability to be a teacher, but she is so humble that she's decided with Shackleford, can I just work here for 2 or 3 years and get strong, and then you give me a classroom. I've been begging her to take a classroom, and she's just like, no, I need to grow. There's a lot that I didn't learn in college, so we appreciate that. So keep moving. And again, I spent more money right here, the MCL here. She did not want to leave her classroom. Like, she begged me. She was just like, I would love to help you. I would love this leadership role, but I love having my own students. I don't want to just pull, like, we're in a building where people want their babies. They want their baby. She's like, I just don't want to pull someone in group. She's like, I want my own students, and I want to try some more things. All right. And in the 4th and 5th grade, and I will tell you, this is where the magic was last year. This was the magic last year. Prior to the pandemic, we just had, you know, an instructional coach. That instructional coach now is back in the classroom teaching. Like, just wanted to miss the kids, wanted to go back and teach. And we have 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers. That was before the pandemic. But this year, we went really deep in 4th and 5th grade. And the reason why I did that is because I studied data very heavily before. Well, I didn't have a lot of time, but I studied the data, and I always saw that we were blue and green in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, but something always happened in 4th grade, but there was a dip. So I was like, let me get some extra support there with 4th grade. So this year we have a MCL2 who is full release for 4th and 5th grade. We have an MCRT who is also about a veteran teacher about 3 or 4 years away from retiring, who, you know, she just came to me and she just said, you're a wonderful principal, but if I ever leave here, it's not because of you. I want to increase my retirement. And I was just like, you know, I just became innovative, and I was just like, okay, good interview. And this teacher right here could actually be an MCL 2 or 3, but, you know, she wanted to be in Lucama. So here we go. And then we have a reach associate there. So we have a lot of support this year in 4th and 5th grade. Didn't have it last year. Now, last year, this MCL was, she was an MCL 2 partial release. So we only have that in the reach associate there. So that's kind of like the structure of where we were before the pandemic and where we are now. And then this is our coaching schedule. I'm going to be honest with you. This coaching schedule was produced last May. And then guess what happened? We had vertical PLCs in June. Because before we went home for the summer, when everybody else was packing up their rooms, my teachers were in vertical PLCs, leading kids over to the next grade level. And so we readily saw that we had to change the coaching schedule again. So we had to kind of change it. The biggest thing that we know that are non-negotiables in our coaching schedule is that I'm meeting with my coaches. They have at least one sacred time where they meet with me. And then we have that one sacred time a week. You can't see it at the bottom. It's not up here, but at the bottom on Wednesdays, we meet from 11 to 12:30. And honestly, God, it's not enough time, but we make it happen. We've developed our timeline of deliberate practices. So each of them have me one-on-one, and then we all meet as a team for an hour and a half a week. Sometimes we meet more after school or via Google Meet. Okay. So coming in here, what I did was I looked at the Lucama Elementary School mission statement. That was the first thing I did. I was just like, what does it represent? You know, and it talks about providing a safe and nurturing education environment, which creates success for all students through our community working together. And the provision of quality education in a safe, nurturing, forward-thinking environment is a priority at Lucama Elementary School. And of course, the world is evolving, so is education. And so I looked at the opportunity culture vision. Can you go for it? And their statement was to reach all students with excellent teaching consistency. I wanted to make sure now is what the principal, what we had in place before I got here, doesn't align with what we are trying to put in place. And if it hadn't, as a leadership team, as a school, we would have revamped our vision. But we didn't really have to, because the next slide will show you that there was a mere connection between what we do at Lucama, what OC does. It directly correlated. You know, Lucama, we want to create success for all students. How do you do that? You got to reach them. You got to make sure that you're looking at every subgroup. And then community working together. The community that's going to work together to get this done is educators, not just teachers, paraprofessionals, teacher assistants, our tutors, our interventionists, and you're going to see later, they're in our PLCs. Our PLCs are tiered. We don't have our traditional, we have PLCs, but they're not traditional. Everybody has a voice once a month or twice a month or 3 times a month in PLCs. And these are our results after first year principal come in and not really knowing OC. We had a growth index of 9.57 growth. I knew we were going to be blue. I thought we were going to be a bluebird. No idea we were going to be pink. I did not know that. But I knew that because we were so intentional and we were doing things with fidelity, I knew we were going to be blue. But when that number popped on the screen, I was just like, wow. And then and it was such great work because these are veteran teachers that they were always doing things. They were doing things in their own pods, but they were not aligning things. It was like we had our own first grade kindergarten school. We had a first grade school. We had a second grade school. We had 6 schools in this building. And now we have 1 school. We have 1 school now. And we, you know, you go back, our letter grade, we were already B school. I think we were 70 or 71. We only hit 83. We're just like tiptoes away from that A, right? We can taste it. Okay. And it finished up. Honestly, guys, testing wise, they say 2%, but I'm a realist. We're 1.27% this day, okay? But Dr. Mills and stopped and he put 2% because you have to round up. But we're really like $1.25, not $2, right? All right.
I actually thought me. I got me.
So whenever I get a chance to find it in, I was like, it's 1.27%. All right, so here we are. This is a journey where we were, and you'll see right here, you know, I did lose I got a new AP this year. So last year we had a second year AP, a first year principal, and we just meshed. Like we went on trips together. Every time we planned, we did everything. Like it was a life outside of this building. So we had 3 teacher leaders that we coached. We heavily coached. Every time they coached, we coached. Like when they left our coaching meeting, they left with coaching moves. They were not left because I felt that was very important because they needed to know that someone was going to support their work. So if we were going to be focusing on phonics, They would go in and coach the phonics and plan the phonics, and I would go in and evaluate the phonics and give feedback within 24 hours. My coaches did not have to give feedback. All they had to do was plan, carry it out, and they know that when they're like, April, and they could tell when I missed my coaching move too. They're like, you didn't go in that classroom this week. I was like, you're right. So, but some things come up, right? And then we had, so I will tell you, last year we had our greatest proficiency in the grade levels where we had our NCLs. Kindergarten's in-class proficiency finished up at like 78% after the pandemic. And in the beginning of the school year, only 20 of our kindergartners knew all their letters, names, and sounds. But they finished up 78% proficiency in in-class, right? And then here we go down here. This 5th grade, 4th grade MCL, they rocked it out of the park. The first day of EOG results, when we got science scores back, every kid in science, 5th grade was proficient, but 4. But they just rocked it out. And I didn't share it, like we just can't believe it. And then our goals, like we superseded our goals. Our goals were gaudy. Like after the pandemic, our reading goal was 68%. We finished up, you'll see in a minute, in the 70s. Our math goal was 70%. We finished up in the 80s. And our science goal was 80%. We finished up in the 90s. So we superseded our goals. But you're going to see in a minute, we didn't do anything different, anything new. We just did it consistently and we did it intentionally, and it was very deliberate. Okay. So this year, why not go OC all the way, right? If we did all that with 3 people, right? What can we do with this side? So this year we are OC 100% across our building. We retained veteran teachers in our building, and we're continuing the work we did last year. We're tweaking little things. Last year we had overall goals. This year we actually have subgroup goals. So we have content goals, and within those content goals, we have subgroup goals. So we're tracking everybody. We're not tracking overall anymore. We're looking at every head on the calendar, right? Keep going. So here we are. Last year in kindergarten, I will be honest with you, this MCL was new to our building. She wasn't new to Wilson County. She was new to our building. She was coming to Lucama that was already a big school. She had to prove herself. She had to get buy-in. So what did we do? We let her reach kids. Those teachers started looking in PLCs. They started seeing the kids that she was touching, that they were moving. So what do you think they want now? We want that coaching. We want her targeting our kids. And now what we've done is we've spread her through. So last year we heavily reached kids, students, and we used that data to prove our coaching model. And then this year she is working with kindergarten and 1st grade. She'll be able to reach over 100 and some kids through her support and the retooling groups. And then in 2nd grade, what we're doing over here, the biggest thing we're doing different here is we are making sure that all of our teachers and our kids are exposed to, I don't care what their reading level is. I don't care what their science reading and phonics score is. Every passage they look at is 300 plus words. But we're using previewing strategies. So some days kids work on vocabulary and questioning, whereas the other groups are going right into the text, attacking the text. So we're keeping them exposed to complex texts. And then the weakest area, I will tell you, when I came into Lucama was our MTSS. And we were doing lots of activities, but they were not so much research-based. So this year, I was blessed to get a little bit more money. And when Miss May, it was weird. One day I interviewed this great lady and I didn't have a position. And then the next day she gave me the money and I made a position. So I was just like, perfect. So we hired an MTSS teacher who is working, she's covering all of our interventionists and our tutors in reading and math. And this year we're being very intentional. We're using Do the Math for our math interventions, and we're using 95% group interventions for our intervention groups. What we did was we set desired outcomes for each grade level so that we will know exactly by the end of 9 weeks who really qualifies for MTSS. So we don't come to our problem solving PLCs with our feelings. we come to it with data. And that's how we touch kids. And then finally, what we did here, we made weekly PLCs. They are non-negotiable. My teachers decide every 9 weeks what will be their evaluative pieces. We don't wait, we preview. And we know for the next 6 weeks what assessments will be coming into PLC. What we will be using for teaching student learning. And it's not all this big complex stuff. Everything is very like targeted, deliberate practice, where every standard we unpack, we're trying to do it in 1, 2, 3. And if we can't do it in 1, 2, 3, we'll come back with 4 to scaffold it. The digital notebook was great because wherever we were, it was a click of the button. We know where kids were. Teachers were putting that data in there. Thank you, buddy. And then I will also tell you, we use Get Better Faster. But we were doing office coaching the first semester, but we didn't track it. So what we did was we took the Get See It, Name It protocol, and we put it in a Google form. So every time my coaches go in there, we know what they're coaching, and it gives us a pivot table to see how much time are you spending in planning, how much time are you spending in co-teaching, and then we were able to, this year we used that data to create professional development plans for teachers. So there's no question, what tier are you on? Every teacher in our building is on a coaching tier. They're on a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, and there's no question about what OC is in our building. Go back for me, Heather, one more time. Another thing we did was the previous principal had put in money for tutoring, and they had traditionally waited to tutor 9 weeks before the EOG. Well, it was law learning loss. So what Ms. Shackleford said was, we're gonna, every time we have a benchmark, we're gonna pull a subgroup by invitation only and tutor for 2 to 3 weeks after every benchmark. And I promise you, every time we saw the results, it was targeted. So, I mean, we did extended day tutoring. This year, we're going a little bit deeper. We have the extended day tutoring, the bubble kids is called Keeping Up the Partners. But this year, we are going a little bit deeper. We're doing something called Catching Up Partners. So all of our students with disabilities, our ELL students, and tier 2 kids that can't move at that quick pace, they are going to be getting it all throughout the year. So my EC teacher and my ELL teacher will be doing extended learning with those kids throughout the year because our Keeping Up with the Cardinals, the extended day one, that's a fast pace, 45 minutes in and out, and they can't handle that. So we have 2 layers of that. But again, I hope you see that we didn't do anything different than that was out there, but we were just very intentional with every move we made. Like at EOG time, we were able to see, we looked at data so much. When their percentiles came out, we knew if they met growth. But we didn't have to wait till August and October for the district to tell us. We knew those kids' percentiles. We knew their projected percentiles, and we knew if we had met or exceeded. We already had a roundabout figure because we looked at those students so much. And my teachers were going crazy because they're like, Ms. Shackleford, if you call out 1 more %. But I love what I do, and I just think that this past year was a dream come true because I've tried to be a principal for about 6 years, and my first chance at it, we just went at it. And I think the biggest thing was my teachers appreciate that I have not lost my head of being a teacher. I've not lost my head of being a coach. I am their principal, but I'm willing to model. I'm willing to go into classroom to teach. I go to every PLC. The only time I'm not in a PLC is when I'm not in this building. But I'm in every PLC, but I don't leave in. I'm just a fly on the wall. They run the PLC. They have the protocol. And I can't forget this, Miss May, our database. Now that's what my teachers are going to tell you about this afternoon. They love the database. I pay for subs to come in after every benchmark where they had an entire day, duty-free lunch, where they can just go and unpack their data. And they didn't just look at like level 4, level 5. Our conversations got so deep. We were looking at item analysis to the point where we know when a kid didn't have stamina, or we knew where a kid didn't have a certain domain. Like that's where our conversation went. Or we knew where they just hadn't been exposed to the questions. And so the day-to-days were fabulous because they got all day to plan, unpack, and then just meet with the other groups. And the first couple of day-to-days were kind of struggling because they weren't used to it. But by the third one, I mean, they were doing a full day today in 4 hours. And I'll give them like 67 hours. So that's our journey. And